Going on, guys? Got the first breakdown of 2023. This one's going to be for UFC Vegas 67. Main card fight at flyweight. We got Jimmy Flick taking on Charles Johnson. But just real quick, I'm going to try to keep this fast. It was a really busy year for me. Just didn't have the hours to do the breakdowns. And then when I came back and tried to do them, I just found that I didn't have enough research hours to really make the picks the way I want to make them. And I was very, very happy with the way things were going in early 2021. That was my first year really tracking profit, and it went downhill when I didn't have the research hours. So I just said, you know what, we'll reset in 2023 because I don't like doing anything half-assed. I like to have the research. I want to make these picks right, and I just didn't have the time. But this year we 100% will. There's no question about it. Um, I will have consistent uploads all year and, more uploads than ever before. I know I said that when I came back in whenever that was, like some point this summer, but I just didn't have the hours. Now I 110% have the hours. We'll just leave it at that. But without further ado, let's just get into it. We got Jimmy Flick taking on Charles Johnson. Jimmy Flick, of course, returning from retirement after abruptly retiring, was off to a great start. But in terms of physicals, Charles Johnson's gonna have a 2 inch reach advantage, or excuse me, he's gonna be 2 inches taller. They're about even on reach, half an inch advantage to Jimmy Flick. Don't really think it's gonna matter though with fight styles. But I will start with Jimmy Flick, I suppose. So, like I just said, coming back from retirement, definitely retired in a place where he was looking like he was going to have an awesome career. Of course, you got that flying triangle over Cody Durden, who is very well versed on the ground himself. Um, and then that kind of just sums up what is dangerous about Jimmy Flick's game. He's got great submission game, and he gets on these submissions really fast. There's not a lot of time in between these last few submissions he's had, which I believe he's won. What is it? Four of his last five have won. He's won by submission. Now he's won. It looks like six in a row by submission, and a lot of these, like he just gets on it right away. There's no time to get out of it, and yeah, he was looking great, but obviously the nearly 2 year layoff. We don't know how that's going to be. Sometimes it doesn't matter. Sometimes guys come back after 2 years and it's just like they were just on the shelf for 2 years, just not taking damage. It's like nothing happened. Um, I don't think you lose the level of BJJ ability that Jimmy Flick had, and I don't think it's like he stopped training. He just he just didn't want to take the damage. I suppose just thought he was in a good place mentally in his career, and just decided to hang it up. You see that happening a lot more with athletes in these sports where you can get some head trauma. But anyway, he's back now, and I'm sure a lot of people are happy to see him back. In terms of stand up, though, he's a little shaky. He has good kicking game, but he uses it to set up his takedowns. Not a lot of volume. It's one at a time, and if he's just being unbothered, he has good offense. But when he gets pressured, he's not good in close, and he kind of tends to shell up and just very hittable. It's not a good look for him. And against fighters with power, that's kind of where he's ran into trouble. His last loss was against Ray Rodriguez, who I believe is maybe on the roster. I don't know if he is, but he was on the roster at one point. Didn't win a fight in the UFC, but had a good record coming in. His other loss prior to that was to Chris Gutierrez, so no harm there at all. And most of these wins are by submission, so that's good. But yeah, the stand up clear advantage is going to go to Charles Johnson in this one, I think, especially on volume. But yeah, Jimmy Flick stand up. As soon as he gets bothered, it seems to like fall apart for him. Like I said though, he's very good at setting up his takedowns off of kicks. He immediately hops on them, and like we've been saying, he transitions to submissions very quickly. But for Charles Johnson coming in off of a controversial win over Zalgis Zumagulov, a lot of people thought he won that. I thought it was one of those just could have gone either way, or lost that, excuse me. Thought it could have gone either way. I mean, yeah, I think I would have given it to Zumagulov too, but very close fight. Before that, he gets a tough draw in his UFC debut against Muhammad Makayev. But I remember when I did the breakdown for that one, I was just saying like Charles Johnson is a guy that I'm gonna look to bet going forward because that's a tough spot for anybody, but he held his own in that one, was never really in danger of getting finished. Makayev really just kind of had to hold him against the fence and, just these takedowns they wasn't really able to do much with and just win, fairly easily. He had a lot of control, but he was never really looking to finish the fight or, he couldn't at least. Before that, though, he has an absolute banger, gets the win over Carlos Mota, fifth round knockout in a wild back and forth fight. Really fun fight. Like I highly recommend that one. I think it's on YouTube. It's one of those weird fights where they show you the ending and then the fight gets going. A little weird, but yeah, he did a lot of things well in that one. Stylistically for Johnson, he has very good volume, good movement. Trains at Tiger Muay Thai primarily, so there you go. But yeah, just very dynamic striking game, good kicks. Sometimes he is very vulnerable to counters with some of these wayward kicks, but I mean, other than that, fairly good head movement, good speed. He has pretty much all the attribute advantages for striking in this one. Not a ton of power, but he's definitely capable of getting the knockout. Um, his pace can be a big problem for people, and this is another thing about Charles Johnson that's very helpful for this fight. If you go and you watch his last 5 fights, he's had to deal with grapplers, high level grapplers, and just about all of them. He's had his back taken. He's been in some tough spots and just never really in danger of getting finished. Carlos Mota gets on his back, um, goes for a rear naked choke in round one. He just stays calm, is able to shake him off, get a great reversal. Against Jao Camillo, did the same thing, a couple great reversals in that one. Landed some great ground and pound. So he's been going toe to toe with these BJJ black belts, and they just haven't been able to submit him. These are some high level. There's some high level submission games that he's had to go up against. So good stuff from Charles Johnson. I think it's definitely something that we have to factor in for this fight because Jimmy Flick, obviously, his game is going to be submissions, pretty much 100%. But yeah, you never know because Flick gets on him super fast. But Charles Johnson's submission defense and defensive wrestling in general is very good, and he's just got a very well-rounded game. And so we don't have the odds for this one yet, but if I had to cap this fight, I would put it as a pick 'em. Maybe a couple years ago, Jimmy Flick would have been a little bit more of a favorite, but the Tapology predictions reflect that. 669 votes. We got 52% going with Johnson, 48% going with Flick. I am going to agree with that. I'm going to go with Charles Johnson here. I think it's a nice. You have a nice opportunity because if Jimmy Flick's going to win, you got to imagine it's going to be by submission. So if you were going to bet on Charles Johnson, you have a nice hedge opportunity. I just cannot see a world where Jimmy Flick wins by decision. I think Charles Johnson has all the volume. I think he'll just win on volume if it goes to decision. If Jimmy Flick is going to be holding him on the ground, I just don't see him holding him on the ground. It's like he's either going to get the submission or Charles Johnson's going to get a reversal or he's going to get up. I just don't see Jimmy Flick just wrestle fucking him. There's always a chance for a flash knockout, but I don't really see it from Jimmy Flick. So if you were going to go with Charles Johnson for a bet, you have a nice hedge opportunity with Jimmy Flick. But yeah, I just like multiple factors for Johnson here. His sub defense is very good. His defensive wrestling is good. Takedown defense is good. He has all the advantages on the feet. He pushes a pace, and he's been very active. He fought Zuma Gulov. I mean, when was that? Like less than 2 months ago. He's getting right back in there, hopping in for Jeff Molina on short notice. And he's very active. It's two different worlds. I'm not saying that Jimmy Flick, like again, the layoff is not always a factor. So we gotta see how he is when he comes back. But even without the layoff, I think that he just has all the tools to beat Jimmy Flick, and I like Charles Johnson in this one, and I do plan on making a bet if the odds are good. If he's a sizable favorite, anything over like minus like 180. I mean, even that range is just getting like really dicey for me. But if I had to guess, I think that this line's going to be close, and I think there's going to be some value on Charles Johnson. So thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to subscribe and lots more videos coming. Take it easy.